Hi guys, it is April from Getting Hoga With It. Today we are going through the best thrillers that I read in 2019. So let's get into it. I read a lot of thrillers in 2019. After I had Nora, I pretty much only wanted to read thrillers for some reason. It really was like the easiest thing to read, and so as a result, I read a ton of them. I think the most out of any genre that I read this year was definitely, by far, thrillers. So I have 5 thrillers that I want to share with you here. These are the best of the best. We're going from least favorite, which are still amazing, to most favorite. So let's start. The first book I want to talk to you about is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. Now, this is a retelling of The Turn of the Screw by Henry James, and that is a horror book that I fell in love with. It's so good. I read that a long time ago. Very twisty-turny, very unsettling and nerve-wracking. This is a retelling of that story, and this follows a young woman named Rowan Kane. She is working at, I think it's at a daycare or something of that sort, and she stumbles across an ad for a nannying job in the Scottish Highlands, and it sounds amazing. It's to nanny the children of these 2 architects, and they had created this home that's both modern and traditional. So they took a traditional home in the Scottish Highlands and like added glass and all of these modern features. And she goes to stay and take care of their children. Unfortunately, the house that's supposed to be luxury and convenience starts to turn on her, and she wonders what is going on. Is someone controlling the house? And who is that? Or is there like some supernatural being that's doing that? So we meet her when she is in jail. And she's in jail because one of the children that she was nannying dies. And she's writing to a lawyer to ask the lawyer to take her case because she did not kill this child. And so you go into this book not knowing which child it is, because I think there are 3 or 4 children that she's taking care of. This was a lot of fun, very atmospheric. Before this year, I had only read In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware, and I hated that book. Since then, I've read this and also The Death of Mrs. Westaway. This is by far my favorite. Next up is The Night Visitor by Lucy Atkins. Now this, I would say, is more mystery than thriller, but it's under the thriller category. Just going in, know that it's more mystery than anything else. And this follows a woman who is writing a biography about this, I think it's this doctor in the Victorian ages or something like that. And she gets some help from someone. That someone's name is Vivian. Vivian helps Olivia, the writer, to essentially do all of the research for this book, and they have this very interesting relationship, and it's very toxic, to the point that at Olivia's book launch, she is scanning the room, terrified that Vivian is going to show up. And Vivian is really what makes this book more than anyone else. Like, she is such a fleshed out character, like one of my favorite characters I think that I've met in a mystery thriller. I really, really loved Vivian. This is about obsession and science, independent women, and a very beloved dog. It's so well-rounded, and I can't recommend this enough. It's such a, it's not a really well-known thriller or mystery, and I wish that more people would read this. And Lucy Atkins is coming out with a new book in 2020 that I'm very excited about. So yes, I loved The Night Visitor. Next is a book that I read in the summer, and I mean, what would a thriller favorites video be without a Riley Sager? This is Lock Every Door, and this is very much inspired by Rosemary's Baby. Now, I've never read the book Rosemary's Baby, but I've watched the movie. This follows a woman who's very much down on her luck. She is pretty much destitute. Her boyfriend was found cheating on her, so she's got to leave her apartment. And she finds this ad, another ad story. She finds this ad to become an apartment sitter at the Bartholomew apartments, which are super luxurious apartments in New York. Very hard to get into. And they're going to pay her to stay there. And so naturally she says, absolutely. And she goes and moves there. And soon she finds it to be very claustrophobic. She doesn't feel alone in the apartment itself. And all of the people who live there are just a little bit weird. And she feels very much stuck because she doesn't have anywhere else to go. So she's pretty much homeless, living in this luxurious apartment, and would love nothing more than to leave. This was a lot of fun. This was so much fun. I feel like Riley Sager gets better and better and better. Every book I read by him, I'm like, oh, he just can do no wrong. Next up is a new author that I'm super excited about. This one is Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. I bet a lot of you thought that this would be my favorite thriller of the year. In any case, I had never read Alice Feeney before 2019, and thank goodness I did, and thank goodness I started with this. This is, I think, her first book, and in this book, we follow a woman who is in a coma. She's aware of her surroundings. Her husband and her sister are by her side, and she should feel comforted by that. However, she actually fears both of them because she thinks one of them actually landed her in the coma to begin with. So I loved this book. It has multiple timelines. We follow her a week before she goes into the coma. We follow her obviously in the coma, aware of what's going on. And then we also follow childhood diary entries. And I think the childhood diary entries is really what put this over the edge for me. This probably has the most twists and turns of any thriller I've ever read. I loved the characters in this. This is definitely a character-based thriller, although the plot is crazy and has so many twists and turns. But I really appreciate it when you can find an author who takes their time to develop good characters and like twisted characters. I love Alice Feeney. I'll read anything she writes. And finally, the number one thriller that I read in 2019 is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. This is a reread from me. I had read Gone Girl, I think, about the time that it came out initially, so I got right into the hype of it. And since then, I had read all of Gillian Flynn's works, and I thought Sharp Objects was my favorite of Gillian Flynn's. And then I reread Gone Girl and realized, no, it's gotta be Gone Girl. This follows a couple, Amy and Nick. They have a very strange marriage. Amy goes missing, and everyone thinks Nick for sure did it. Like, the police are after him, the media is hounding him, and he is terrified, and he's like, it looks like I did it. Like, I have been a crappy husband. So you follow his perspective, and then you follow Amy's perspective in these diary entries that you discover, and you read through her perspective. And this has so many twists and turns, but what I loved about this book more than anything is Amy, the character of Amy. I loved that at the very beginning of the story, I mean, Amy made me laugh so often. I was laughing throughout, and then it got to about the middle, and I was like, ha ha, and then it got further on, and I was like, I feel nervous and claustrophobic, and I just want to get out. Like, I felt as claustrophobic as these characters did. And oh my goodness, the characters. When an author can spend this much time developing very twisted characters and putting them in the most awkward, terrifying positions, I just think that's a good writer. I can't wait for Gillian Flynn to write more. She's still not written anything since Gone Girl. I mean, obviously she's been working on like screenplays and that kind of thing, but like, we need a book. We need a book, Gillian. Please help us out. So yeah, this is definitely the best thriller that I read this year. So let me know in the comments below, did you read any amazing thrillers this year, and what was your number one? If you had to choose one, I would love to know what that is, and leave it in the comments below. I might have them on my shelves because I collect so many. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye!